Mr. Luchiano Dupuis. Thank you for joining us on Untapped Potential.
It's my honor. It's my honor. Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show as well.
Certainly. So tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Luchiano Dupuis. I'm 25 years old, just a young man from the community of Lago, Portsmouth, way up in the north of Dominica. I would say I'm a volleyball player, semi-pro, and I'm also a youth activist, encouraging young people, seeing being sports or young people who are just ideal on the side of the road and need some assistance, some advice, that helping hand to get them through the day or through the week or through the month.
Yes, certainly. And that is wonderful. So we have a lot to talk about in terms of youth development. So I'm certainly happy you're here because there are two areas I want to talk to you about. I want to talk youth development. And as you know, this is a program about overcoming challenges to become successful. So we have very important things to talk about today. So just by way of introduction, what is your professional title right now?
By way of information, the professional title right now is that I'm the deputy chair at the Caribbean Young Democrats Union, where I'm in charge of youth training, outreach, and recruitment within the region for 10 member state islands, stemming from as far as Belize and all the way to Turks and Caicos, come down to the Lesser Antilles.
Wow, so that is a pretty impressive role for a 25-year-old, if I might say so.
Yes, it is. And I'm currently on my third term. So I started somewhere there about at the age of 22, 23 when I
Wow,
was
that's
first
impressive.
elected.
So we will definitely explore that a little bit more. But just tell us by way of your when you were growing up. Tell us, were you always interested in youth development? What sparked your interest in youth development?
When I was growing up, I was, how should I say it? I was not one to be so vocal, so active. I was more of the quiet one because my mother had three boys,
Mhm.
the middle child. So my brother would always come over with his friends, and I would rather do their homework for them rather than I go outside and play. So I was always the quiet one to be more of a setback. But with time and progression, I have been subjected to what we call bullying in these days,
Mhm.
and it somewhat built me. Growing up again, I was made, how should I say it? I was brought into the idea of doing things within my community. So my grandfather, who is deceased right now, he would always tell me that, I need to go out there. I need to do what makes me happy. If it's helping people, and I have a passion for helping. So I would
Mhm.
go out, help people in their gardens and help in whatever way I can. And when I got to my teenager years, I was introduced to a secondary school because it was not my first choice.
Mhm.
So I started the 7 Days Adventist, and then I was transferred to the Portsmouth Secondary, where at the Portsmouth Secondary, I was introduced to many leadership roles. One of which I loved the most was when I was made captain of a volleyball team in my first year of trying out for volleyball.
Mhm.
And from there, it has just been leadership roles, as in 2 years president of the Kiwanis Club, PRO of the Savings Club, a senator in student government. So as time progressed, I progressed with time and kind of shaped myself with the help of some key individuals, such as the teachers and some family members, into leadership role and the leadership aspect of my life.
Mhm. Very good, very good. So now tell us how you came up on the opportunity to be the, let's see, deputy chairman at the Caribbean Young Democratic Union. First of all, what is this organization?
The Caribbean Young Democrats Union is a regional organization, and the head of the organization is in Jamaica. The
Mhm.
organization stems from London, under the conservative who wants to see development among youth within the Caribbean region, as well as Central America, Asia. But we're dealing with the Caribbean right now. And the aspect of the Caribbean Young Democrat Union is to get young people aware of their rights, to empower young people, and what I call it under my mandate, it's building a prosperous future, you know, building a youth fortress to get more young people into leadership positions. Let them exploit their opportunities that they have before them that they don't even know about. Let them show their skills that they have, but they don't even know about. So we help to bring that out in the light so that they can stand out within their community and their country. My portfolio, which, as I said, holds youth training, outreach, and recruitment, it was not a portfolio that I wanted. And when I was approached by someone in the person of Mr. Revere, he told me that, hey, Luchiano, there's a position at the Caribbean Young Democrat Union. I believe you should run for it. I was like, no, I don't know the people. It's a regional position. How are they going to vote for me? And he was like, just give it a try. Knowing me, I like to take on the challenge. I choose my battles, that I would say. And I took that challenge, and then I was stuck because I'm a young man who advocates for women's rights as well. And I don't stand for domestic violence and crime against women. And the two positions that was up is the vice chair who is in charge of youth training, outreach, and recruitment, and the vice chair who's in charge of women and minority. And I was weighing the pros and cons, and I said that I could still work with youth and still work with the women at the same time, who is under that youth umbrella. So I chose youth training, outreach, and recruitment. And from then, since it has just been history, I have won the votes the past 3 elections by more than 70% of the electorate voting for me. It has never dropped.
And who exactly gets to vote those positions in? Who's doing the voting?
Well, the voting is being done by one particular member from each UFAM in each country. So if it's, let's say, the head of the country chooses one young person, and they send up that one young person to vote. So that one vote, it's critical for the country, because your country puts that voting power in your hand to choose a young person who will well represent not only the region, but that specific country in particular.
So then you would be the vote for Dominica for the other positions.
Oh no! So if I'm from Dominica and I'm running for the position, they will send somebody else to vote, seeing that I am running for that position.
No, for other positions. Would you be the one voting for other positions?
No, that one person will vote for all the other
positions.
So you would have positions open as chairman, the 2 vice chairs, the general secretary / PRO, and the treasurer. So that one person will be picking 5 people to represent their country. And we have 10 members country, as I said. So you have 10 young people across the Caribbean region voting for you, and it's somewhat stressful because at that one point you would have the power for about 11 months, and then that 1 month, which is the election month, you lose all that power and you have to go on something we call a politicking or your campaign. And I call it whipping the votes from the so-called British and American term. So it's something that you have to develop an art in if you want people who don't know you to vote for you.
Right, certainly. And it sounds like you guys are doing important work. But can you tell us some of the projects that this organization does?
So we carried out a project in the form of Let's Vote campaign within the region. And this project was a critical one, seeing that young people within the Caribbean region was not showing any interest in voting seeing it as in local government or anything thereabout. So we decided that we would go around the region in educating them. But under that, I had the idea of why educate them when you can help build them.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a program, as I said, which is called the Building a Youth Fortress, where I traveled throughout the Caribbean region and went to critical islands such as Anguilla, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, and even as far as Turks and Caicos. And what I did was I sat down with each member, each executive and the members of their particular youth arm, and we discussed ways to build the youth arm, ways to help the elderly people in the community, because it's not only about the youth, ways to get more young people involved in community development, as well as holistically getting them involved as an individual, as well as getting them on the right path as it pertains to school, because there are many young people, believe it or not, within the Caribbean region who does not have access to schooling and the funding for schooling, as well as many young people does not have the access to a proper meal, let's just say a breakfast or a lunch or even dinner. And that in itself was something that was really heartbreaking for me, seeing that I grew up with my grandparents not having as much, but then I would still have enough to help somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if I don't have much and I can still help somebody else, others can do it as well. So this was a program that I carried out within the region, within the member islands. And it was very successful. You know, young people throughout the Caribbean region, they were very happy for the assistance, for the little help. And it's nothing much to say we wanted praises, as in have it out in the media. I felt that the letters of thank you, the phone calls and the text messages were more than enough to show me that they were really happy with the program and what was carried out within the region.
Good, good, excellent. So it sounds like you're doing some very important work. And of course, if you're just joining us, we're speaking to Mr. Dupuis, Luchiano Dupuis. He's from Dominica, and he is the deputy chairman at the Caribbean Young Democratic Union. You know, I keep having to look at the notes because your title is so long. So
it is long.
I want to make sure I get it right. Now, are you guys doing anything, especially in terms of like leadership development? Because coming from where you come from and having ascended to such an important role, are there opportunities for other young people to follow your footsteps as well? In terms of leadership,
yes.
And not just leadership at your organization, but leadership in general.
So yes, what we do is that we tailor leadership courses, leadership trainings, and these trainings can be done in two ways. We meet on a specific island within the member countries, and we invite at least one young person we see with that specific leadership quality who is promising, who can move forward as we speak. And we go through how should I say it, a very tight schedule, a very tight 3 to 4 day schedule on leadership training, social media training, how do you carry yourself, proper etiquette, you know, debates and research training as well to help develop them. We even do leadership training for some of them who want to be, let's just say, in leadership roles within their school, if they're still going to school, or within the community, or just want to have that on-hand leadership knowledge that they could pass on when they go back home to certain individuals as well. So it's not about just visiting the member island. It's about getting more young people involved and have them open to the idea of being leaders within the Caribbean region as well.
Right. So you talk about representing Dominica, but is this the type of organization that is open to membership? Say I'm just a regular young person in Dominica and I wanted to be a part of this. Would I be able to just join the organization?
Well, that in its sense would be no. Okay. And I am trying to move away from that idea, because a lot of young people are interested
Mhm.
And I tend to not stick to the political aspect of it within the organization, and I more approach it on a youthful aspect. So what
Yes.
I do is, if we have a specific training that is not more tailored to a political thinking, I would send the invitation out to different members within the Dominica Youth, the National Youth Council, and they could have more young people join in. And we would do that within the other Caribbean islands as well. And
Mhm.
we get more young people who are not part of the union to join in, to sit in, and to engage, experience what we're giving to young people, what we're teaching to young people within the Caribbean region.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So you mentioned the National Youth Council. So do you collaborate with them as well as the youth division? Do you have some inputs? Because I have to tell you, it seems like the young people in Dominica, there's a crisis going on, especially with the young men, and you hear a lot about the guns and the unemployment. So do you coordinate at all with the Youth Council and Youth Development Division?
As it pertains to coordination, in some Caribbean countries, it's being done.
Mhm,
In Dominica, we have had setbacks
mhm,
because of the origin of the union, and the union which was created under the leadership of Mamo, Ms. Dame Eugenia Charles, our past
mhm,
prime minister.
mhm,
And it has been a setback for us, as I said, to work with Dominica and the National Youth Council. We have had roundtable discussions
mhm.
within the union on how to assist Dominica and the National Youth Council, as well as young men, because I have gone on a mission, so to speak, to encourage young men, and especially those who are ideal on the block.
Mhm.
And, this is something that people don't like to see. But then, as I said, that we have to come down to the root of the problem. And I feel that we need sound people, young people, within the leadership role within the National Youth Council, to liaison with the youth department, to help these young men and young women, sad to say, who are on the side of the streets, because sometimes all they need, as I keep saying, is just someone to listen to them, someone to guide them down the right path, someone to be there to assist them, because they might be battling something that we don't even know about, and they just want to talk to somebody about it to get it out and help them on that right path that they need to be on. So when it pertains to working in coherence with the National Youth Council, it has been a task, as I said.
Mhm.
And that task, it's something that's detrimental, because within the union, we can't give assistance in underground work, in assisting young men, in helping them get back into school to get in a proper education, or even finding certain jobs for them so that they could keep themselves occupied and not be into crime and violence and on the side of the road.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the very important work that you're doing, Luciano, because I mean, at your tender age, your maturity is way beyond your years, I have to tell you. And I certainly see a bright future for you in this arena. So is your goal to spend a couple more years with this organization, or would you eventually like to branch off and create all the knowledge you're gaining right now? Would you like to create something that has more direct impact for maybe Dominicans?
Well, for me, I'm a young person, and I stick to the notion that power is not everything. And in
Mm-hmm.
the position that I have seen, that it's a democratic process, and democracy has to take precedence in this. I said that I would have only taken 3 years within the organization,
It's three
and
years.
I am on my third year, and I'm going to stick by my word. And as we speak, I am in the process of, I would not say grooming, but preparing a successor for me when I leave, to take up that responsibility if elected within the position that is. When I leave,
This is another
I
Dominican person?
well, I would like it to be somebody from Dominica, so Dominica could
Yes,
hold a seat on that table
certainly.
as long as possible. But when I leave the organization, I have my eyes on school, on education. But even if I have my eyes on education, I believe that studying, you need break. And there will come times when I have vacation and I want to go back home to put all what I have learned into practice. So I would like to go home to assist the young men on this side of the road. I would like to go back to my community of Portsmouth and in neighboring communities and villages as well, into the schools to help troubled young men, you know, help young people in leadership positions or young people who want to be in leadership positions, young people who have the capability of being good speakers, public speakers, but they're just shy. Help them to realize their ability, their talent that they have, and help them bring that out so they can showcase their talent within the country and maybe even regionally if it calls for that.
Yes, certainly. And I know also that you're interested in pursuing law as a career. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, it has been a dream of mine. So while I was growing up, I loved cricket and I said that I wanted to be a professional cricket player. But then I told myself, cricket, really? So then I ventured into the idea of being a politician. And I said that, you know, you want to help people. So I went down the road of thinking of becoming a lawyer. And I started to do my little research as it pertains to law, as it pertains to the constitution of the country, as it pertains to the matters that are being dealt with within the country. And I grew up in a community where at the time crime and violence was a little on the rise. And I didn't want the new generation that's coming forth to be subject to such things, seeing that there was 2 schools and a preschool within close proximity of where these crime and violence was going on. So I said that law would be the right idea and the right dream for me as a young individual. And as I just said that, I am looking forward to education, and that's what I applied for at the UWI campus in Barbados, Cave Hill, as well as UWI in Trinidad and Tobago as well.
Okay, so you're in the process of applying to those schools?
Yes, I am.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And I think whatever you select, you are going to excel in it because you certainly have some very good characteristics for any path that you choose. And speaking of characteristics, what would you say are some characteristics, whether you were born with them or you learned them along the way, that you think has been factors in terms of your success? What are some of your characteristics that help you to succeed?
Well, as it pertains to characteristics, there were 2 that stood out that I did not even know that was there. Which is the leadership. That was hidden within me and I did not even know, as well as the public speaking, which I have to sharpen. Everybody knows that with time, you grow it, you sharpen it. And these 2 have gotten me very far, because I would be able to hold a conversation not knowing anything on the topic with certain individuals, but just listening and giving the critical feedback on the critical information that was said within those conversations. That in itself had gotten me to certain areas like where I am now, as well as leadership, because since I got into volleyball back in second form in high school, it has just been leadership position after leadership position, even representing my country nationally in volleyball and heading the national team, where I took national under 23 team, where I took them to victory. And it has just been uphill for me in those senses. But carrying along the way, I was much of a, how should I say it? The fine talker, the smooth talker. So I would have to learn how to speak more gracefully. Within different countries and islands, they would not understand, seeing that I would speak so much of a strong Dominican accent. So I had to learn how to alter my accent, alter the way I speak, so that more people anywhere that speaks English could understand what I'm saying. And these are the small things that I've learned along the way, the characteristics, and it's made me who I am today.
Yeah, certainly, and I can sense that very well. But what would you say to a young person who does not possess the leadership qualities that seem to have been innate in you? Because it seems like once you got one chance to be a leader, you just took it and just flew with it. So what would you say to a young person? It seems like you attribute two very important characteristics to your success: your innate ability to be a leader and your ability to learn. Because you talk about learning to speak in a more refined way, but that really speaks to your ability to want to learn more. So, what would you say to a young person who was not born with the innate leadership skills that you seem to have been born with?
I always tell young people, seeing that they may, how should I say, not have confidence within themselves, or just not have any ability, or they have it and they don't know, is
Mm-hmm.
that they should always observe. Observe yourself, know yourself, observe others, have role models within, let's say, your family, if not somebody that you look up to on TV who's a role model for you and somewhat in leadership position. And you don't try to mimic, but you try to be better than that person. So you would see somebody and you're like, oh, they speak very well. You find interest in that. You know, as the individual, should try to learn how to speak better. So you take time to learn these things. And as an individual, you should always give yourself room for disappointment, because disappointment is what builds you for your appointment. And I keep telling myself that every single time I have a disappointment. Your disappointment builds you for your appointment.
Certainly,
And
certainly.
it has built me to the position that I am now. And there will be more disappointments for me, but it's just going to build me more, because why? When you observe, you learn from those disappointments.
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow.
also I also found myself changing my circle, changing the friends. I didn't put them down, but I changed the time that I gave them. So if they
Mm-hmm.
would have gotten an hour, they now get half an hour. And I started to associate myself with more people who are articulate,
Mm-hmm.
people who are more focused on a goal, people who are more, how should I say, goal driven, so to speak. And with in that sense, what it did for me, it taught me how to be more goal driven, how to work hard towards what you want, how to listen to people who are smarter than you and not feel that you're being belittled because they are smarter than you. And in that sense, it has taken me step by step. And right now it's where I am now, as I keep saying. So these are the little things that the young people who are not confident in themselves, who feel that they can't. You know, my mother always tell me when like, Luchiano, go do this. And I'm like, but I cannot do it. She's like, what? Cannot is about.
Mm,
So I'm like,
that's funny.
so I'm like, okay. So she's like, give it a try. And you know, when you give something a try within time, you will get it. And now we are in an age of technology where you give something a try and you know it's not working. You go on YouTube and you research it and you listen. And one of my role models, and I would say hands down, is Nelson Mandela and Barack Obama. And the key that brought me to the way I try to speak and try to articulate things is when Nelson Mandela taught Obama how to speak. And
Mm,
that
I
in
did not know
itself,
this.
yes, there is a video on YouTube, and sometime I could share it with you. But
Mm-hmm.
he taught him how to speak as a young man. And that time Obama was very young and he wanted to meet Nelson Mandela, and he was the last person there and he just could not because the time was up. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and the guy at the door went to Nelson Mandela and told him, you know, young Barack is outside. And Mandela brought him in and he asked Mandela the question. And Nelson taught him how to speak the way that he speaks right now, with that calm sense, that those well articulated sentences. And right now, Obama is one of the people who I look up to when it pertains to speaking and articulation, as well as a role model. And these two men has brought significant substance to my life, to understanding me and understanding who I am.
Yeah,
So
certainly. And I am certainly eating up everything that you're putting down because you're hitting so many nails on the head. But just in case anyone is joining us late, we are speaking to Mr. Luchiano Dupuis. He is the deputy chairman at the Caribbean Young Democratic Union, and he is just informing us of the characteristics that if young people do not possess them, they should be working on to further their success. And Luciana, again, like I said, I've just been eating up everything that you're saying because the importance of having role models. I think a lot of times we think of advancing our lives, but we don't realize that the first thing that we have to change are the people that are surrounding us, especially once you start excelling, because I hate to admit it, but many times when you start excelling, the people in the circle that you're accustomed to will say, well, who do you think you are? Oh, now you think you're better than us? And I love the way you said it, that you do not completely distance yourself from your original friends, because you can still be friends with them, but you limit the amount of time you spend with them in pursuit of spending time with people that you're aspiring to become. So very beautifully said. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. As you're saying that, I had a flashback, so to speak. And within the union, I was on my second term, and in the organization, and any organization, any workplace, you will encounter certain troubles. And one person who I was very dear and close to, they kind of advised me to do something which was very wrong. And out of morality and the code and what I stood for, I stood up and I spoke against it. And in a so-called meeting to kind of settle off the dispute, I was told that they were the one who made me, seeing that I seeked advising them to better myself. And they also said that in something of the tone of, you could never be better than what you are right now. You're just going to be stagnant because I am not there. They also went on to tell me that all the people who support you on Facebook don't think they are your supporters, because behind your back they will say X, Y, and Z. And that in itself, even though it was at a late age, it taught me that not everybody who smiles with you are your friend.
So true.
And my grandmother always told me that, and I always used to laugh at it, but only now I experienced what it truly means. And not everybody you seek advice in going to give you the right advice for your benefit, but more so for their benefit, they will give you certain advice. And with that being said, we have to be cautious as to how we accept advice and from who we accept it, and how do we go carrying out that advice when it's given to us. So I'm a person who likes to seek free opinions, one from my mother, one from outside counsel, and one from myself. So
that is a great idea. I love how you put that into perspective. So as we get ready to wind up, and again, thank you so much for joining us today here on Untapped Potential. And thank you for being a very important voice for the young people in our society. And I think you have a great opportunity, not only just to be their voice, but to try to work on some ideas to help them to advance their lives. So if we wanted more information about the organization and more information about contacting you directly, how might we get in touch with you?
Well, as it pertains to the organization, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You could find us on Facebook at Caribbean Young Democrat Union, CYDU, as well as Instagram and Twitter. As it pertains to contacting me as an individual, I will go there and I will give you my personal WhatsApp number, which
Oh, thank you.
it's which everybody can access me, because I feel that as an individual, you should have time for people who are in need. So my personal WhatsApp number, which is my Dominican number, is 1767-277-3314. And you could always call me or message me via WhatsApp, or you could get me at my personal email, which is Luchi, LuchiDupuis @gmail.com. And you could just hit me up anytime. I am somebody who don't sleep too much. So I would always have a prompt response to an email when it is sent, once I am not caught up in any youth engagement as it pertains to the organization or otherwise.
Yes, and I will certainly attest to that, because as soon as I text you, you know, I was Mr. Loftus-Dura, I was gracious enough to forward your phone number to me. And as soon as I sent you that text, I was like, oh, okay, he responded already.
That's me. I hate to leave text messages unanswered. So because you never know what might be important, what might be waiting. So I like to just glance it. If it pops up on my watch, I just watch it and see, okay, it's an important message. Let me give it a listening ear.
Yes, and thank you
That's how
so
it
much
works.
for being readily available. And I'm sure you will be getting a lot of maybe contacts from some young people who are just seeking a little bit of direction. And as we get ready to wrap up, do you have any final words for us today?
Let me answer you first. As it pertains to young people, as I said, I'm always open to them. So they could message, and I will always give a listening ear, advise them on the best way forward. If I have certain contacts and linkages I could use to get any assistance and help to them, I could do that. As we about to leave, first off, I want to say thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for taking the time off, and the questions and them. It was not what I was expecting. I was more shocked that I got this in-depth questions that I could express and speak on certain things that I don't speak on as much. As we about to depart on this show, I know that there are young people who are going to be listening. And as I like to tell them is that never, ever, ever give up. I have been in certain positions where I thought of even suicide.
Oh.
And it has been a downhill battle for me. And most times it has turned into an uphill battle, but nevertheless, the battle was still there to fight. And as I keep saying, if you choose to give up, how many people are you going to hurt? Starting with yourself when you give up. In life, there's always a place for you, no matter what you choose, how you choose to do it, and given that it's right, there's always a place for you. And there's always somebody who can listen and advise you on the best way forward. Some young people feel that they have been advised and nothing has been done. If nothing has been done, now it's your time to get up and start to clear the pathway for yourself, seeing that no one will be there to assist you. Not everybody is born with a golden spoon in their mouth. I was not born with one. And as I said, my family was not one that was really fortunate as it pertains to my mother. Yes, my uncles and aunties may have had, but that's not my mother. And my mother is to look after her children. And when she went to seek better life for us in assistance, you know, I had to take up the mantle and I had to stand up on my 2 feet and say that you need to work for yourself, because no one is not going to do it for you. And when you can accept that you have to work for yourself and get things done, then and only then you will see the true potential that you're capable of. So I just want the young people who are listening, as well as parents and guardians who are listening to this, to always give their children or their nieces, nephew, or family members, neighbors that listening ear and advise them on the best way forward. Always be one to listen and not quick to judge them on certain things that they speak to you about.
Yeah, certainly. And thank you for sharing such a personal account. And I'm so happy that you didn't give up and you were able to dig deep and that you're still with us. And not only are you with us, but you are excelling. And you know, what you said resonated so well with me because it speaks about not having the world define you, because there's so much out there in the world, you know, for impressionable young people telling them you should be this way, you should dress this way, you should speak this way. And it's just wonderful to meet someone like you who stands on his own 2 feet. You're comfortable in your skin. You know what you stand for. You didn't have
Very
that
much
other
so.
person sway you. And you have a bright future ahead of you. I can't wait to see what you will do.
Thanks very much. It will be soon enough. Facebook tells it all. That's why I run everything to, you know, keep my viewers intact with what I'm doing, to be transparent as well in everything. So you will see it on Facebook, you will see it on Instagram, and I just look forward to having more young leaders within the region, more young people bringing their ideas forth to develop not only Dominica but to develop the region, because you know we are in an age where global warming is something that's very detrimental to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we need new ideas as to how are we going to get past these things. And I just look forward to it. And as I said again, I want to thank you for having me on the show. I like your background because I like the lighting.
Oh,
I
thank
like
you.
everything. It looks so.
And of
I
course,
just
you know,
want to
for
say
our
thank
radio
you.
audience, I will put the video up so you can see what Luchiano is talking about. Just wanted a quick thing. How might we find you on Facebook? You gave the organization, but how do we find
Oh,
you,
it's
you on
it's very
Facebook?
simple. It's very simple. I'm not a young person to go put how do the young people do it these days? It's Swagger or some kind of thing. No, it's straightforward. It's my name.
Mhm.
I chose my adoptive father's name, which is still my name, which is Sherlock Luchiano Devin Dupuis.
Mhm.
Straightforward.
Mhm.
All my names are there, first name and surname. So you find me at Sherlock Luchiano Devin Dupuis, and I'm right there on Facebook, and it's all to see. I'm
Yes,
sometimes
yes.
funny on the book. I'm sometimes, you know, somewhat sad, just to keep the people engaged and to give them a sense of unity and love. So
Yes. Well, it was certainly nice meeting you and getting to know you, Luciano, and we will be in touch.
it was nice meeting you as well. And we will be in touch, that much I know.
Yes, take
Bye
care.
bye.